Week 3 was a pretty wild week. So wild, in fact, that my predictions record hit an all-time low. No, 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 no. Please don't look. Please don't look. Let's just get right into the first game. First up, Thursday night football, you got the Seahawks taking on the Cardinals in Arizona. The Seahawks stomped on the September Saints, which is not even really surprising at this point. I feel like that game said a lot more about the Saints than it did the Seahawks. I just still can't take the Seahawks seriously. I need to see them perform well against an actual top dog, apex predator brawler of a team. And they're not going to find that in the Cardinals, a team that just choked away a game to the 49ers. Now that I think about it, both these teams let the 49ers clutch up on them. But it'll be interesting to see how they fare against each other. For the first time this year, I shall pick the Seahawks to win a game. Admittedly, they do look much better than the Cardinals right now. I can't cap. But if the Seahawks lose this game by more than one possession, I'm not voting them to win for the rest of the year. I'm serious. If they lose by more than 8 points, that's it. I'm done. It's up with the Seahawks. Next, you got the Vikings taking on the Steelers. The Vikings took their backup QB and just laid the hands of God on the Cincinnati Bengals. It appears the Bengals didn't have Cam Taylor-Britt, their star DB, but I don't think Taylor-Britt was going to make a difference in 25 points. And whether this game said more about the Vikings or Cincinnati is up to you. Me personally, I think the Vikings earned the win, but as far as the quantity of points they put up on the board, I don't think they can do that consistently throughout this season. Meanwhile, the Steelers beat the Patriots. It was a standard win. Nothing much to talk about there. I'm still waiting for the Steelers defense to really, go back to being its normal self and holding teams to like below 20 points consistently. The only time they've done that is against a young Patriots offense just last week. That obviously isn't good enough. What would be good enough to ease my nerves is by shutting down a Vikings offense that just dropped 48 points on your division rival. That would make me feel good. But no, I'm going to have to go with the Vikings on this one. Next, you got the Redskins taking on the Falcons. Atlanta, what was that? I said I wasn't going to watch this game. In fact, I didn't even watch the highlights, but I seen the score. And I don't understand. I'm glad I didn't watch the game. I feel like some teams are just meant to be inconsistent. Like, I feel like some of these franchises are just forever destined to leave people scratching their heads, wondering what happened to your previous or earlier performance. And I feel like the Falcons are the poster child of that. They're taking on the Redskins. And I didn't notice this last week, so I'm kind of tardy to the party on this one, but there's no Jaden Daniels for the Redskins. But that doesn't seem to matter because they spanked the Raiders. It's the Raiders, so, whatever, but they look just as solid as usual, and I don't see why they wouldn't keep up that same performance against the Falcons. And this should low-key be a free win for Washington here. Next, you got the Chargers taking on the New York Giants. Giants, I trusted you. I trusted you to beat the Chiefs, and you didn't. It wasn't even a close game. But that's what I get. That's what I get for going for yet another upset. When will I learn is the biggest question here. They'll be going against the Chargers, who are starting to look really impressive here in the start of the season. They are 3-0, all 3 games against each of their division rivals. If the Chargers are stomping on all these other teams, the Giants should be no problem. Next, you got the Toilet Bowl. Titans versus Texans. Texans, you're really starting to piss me off now. 0-3? Come on now. Titans are also 0-3, but that's expected. Texans, could you please fucking win a game here? It's literally being handed to you now. I think that's what's going to happen, but I don't know at this point. You guys are really starting to scare me. But the Texans should have this. Next, you got the Carolina Panthers versus the New England Patriots. The Panthers shown a bit of life as they dropped 30 points and the biggest blowout they've had since Cam Newton on the Falcons. Meanwhile, the Patriots fought hard but ultimately came up short and lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. If we're being real here, this game should belong to the Patriots. This should be like a nice little stepping stone for them to get to a respective 2-2. Unless the Panthers want to play against the Patriots how they did against the Falcons, but I don't see that kind of consistency in them. So I'm gonna give this one to the Pats. Next, you got the September Saints versus the Buffalo Bills. Saints, I just want you to know that My disappointment is immeasurable. You guys have started 0-3 for the first time in nearly a decade. I think your situation this season has been made clear. But I will say, I've noticed an interesting trend that whenever the Saints do start 0-3, they always go on to win 7 games that same season. And the Bills are due for an upset, so no. We're not doing that. No upsets. The Bills are winning. The Bills are winning. I'm done with the Saints. This year was a fucking failure. Next, you got the Cleveland Browns taking on the Detroit Lions. The Lions just pulled off an impressive win against the Baltimore Ravens. It was quite a beautiful performance on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. And the Lions are really starting to look like they're back at their apex point, like they're, one of the best teams in the league. Meanwhile, the Browns just beat the Packers, but I don't think it was anything the Browns did differently. I feel like they played just like themselves. That game was more about Green Bay not being consistent, but we'll get to them shortly. And this is being played in Detroit. There should be no reason the Lions don't win this game. Next, you got a battle of the undefeated. You got the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Both of these teams in the first few weeks have been really asserting their dominance over the league, or at least, the teams they've gone against. Just really proving that they are two of the best teams in the NFL at the moment. And all 3 of both of these teams' games have ended on some clutch offensive, defensive, or even special teams performance. And whereas most people would say the Eagles look like the much better team here, if we're looking at the recent history between these two, the Buccaneers have kind of been owning the Eagles. It might be time to put the Eagles on a leash. Tampa Bay has beaten the Eagles 6 out of their last 7 meetings, 2 of them being in the playoffs. And knowing me, I'm going to take this information and say the Buccaneers should win this game, keeping up the little streak they got going against the Philadelphia Eagles. Speaking of leashes, the Eagles might have to put one on the Rams too, as they have now beaten them 4 times in a row, and 11 out of their last 13 matches. Which takes us to the next game, the Colts versus the Rams. And real quick, can we all just take a second to laugh at the Rams for blowing a 19-point lead? Yeah, last week the Rams blew a 3-possession lead to the Eagles. And it was all a beautiful display, really. And I thank you, Eagles, for making this happen. But Rams, you can redeem yourselves by putting an end to the Colts' insanity run that they got going here. Or should we call it the insanity? I'm not calling it that. Colts are 3-0 somehow. I know exactly how. Their opponents are subpar. They're going against some very mediocre competition. I'm still not impressed. I seriously hope people don't think the Colts are going to be like this threat, like this serious fucking brawler in the AFC this season. Just watch. The second they go against an actually really good team like the Rams, you will see no such performance, I promise. And if the Rams somehow lose, then I get to laugh at them, so it's a win-win for me regardless, but I will be picking the Rams to win. But I must thank you, Colts, for at least making this all entertaining for us. Coming into this season, I thought you were just going to be one of the most unentertaining and boring teams to watch again. And that might be the case going later into the season, but here at the beginning, it doesn't look like it, so congrats on that. Next, you got the Jaguars taking on the 49 injuries. The Jaguars pulled off a win against the Texans. Meanwhile, the 49ers pulled off a win against the Cardinals at the expense of Nick Bosa. That's right, they are still losing people, somehow. It's quite honestly beyond me at this point how the 49ers continue to lose big-name players due to injury. Maybe they made a deal with the devil to where every win they get, the devil takes a soul, one of their players, but they still keep winning. That's what's most confusing. But they'll be going against the Jaguars. Both teams are doing pretty solid right now, honestly, and despite the 49ers injuries, I think they have the more experienced coaching and roster, and also they've beaten the Jaguars 5 in a row at this point. Another put them on a leash moment, so I'm gonna go with the 49ers to beat the Jaguars again. Next, you got the Bears taking on the Raiders. The Bears are showing some unpromising promise as they defeated the Cowboys by a large margin. Meanwhile, the Raiders lost to the Redskins. They actually got dominated. If the Bears want to be taken a bit more seriously, they could get a win here on the Raiders. However, I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders win because they tend to beat on growing teams. This game could go either way, but looking at the Bears' younger and hungrier roster, I'm gonna side with them to pull off the victory this time. Next, you got a very good game in the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs finally winning a game, albeit against a bad team. At least they have a win now. Meanwhile, the Ravens lose yet another shootout, this time to the Lions. Ravens, you can't keep letting 4, 5, or even 6 touchdowns keep getting dropped on you by these teams. This can't keep happening. I don't know how that defense will look against the Chiefs, whose offense doesn't seem to be in full stride right now. Both of these teams kind of need this win for the sake of not going 1-3. These are two great teams that are looking not so great as of lately. I'm just going to have to pick one. I'm going to go with the Ravens. I'm going to go with the Ravens to win this game. I believe in their offense to be able to expose Kansas City's defense. As for the Ravens defense, they're gonna make a lot of stops, right? I would like to hope so. Both teams are fucking around right now, but I think the Ravens will take this a bit more seriously. Next, you got the iconic Green Bay Packers taking on the Cowboys in Dallas. Green Bay, let's talk. What happened? Last video, I literally went over how your biggest weakness is staying consistent. And as I said, you did not stay consistent, and you showed it against the Browns. These are the underwhelming games I'm talking about with the Packers, where no matter how good they're doing beforehand, at any point they could just shut down and look like complete ass. And I suppose that could be the case for damn near every team, but for the Packers, this is supposed to be the Super Bowl worthy squad, or at the very least, a deep playoff run squad. I guarantee you there will be no deep playoff run for you guys if you play like you did against the Browns. It's not happening. Now for the Cowboys, Dallas, let's talk. What happened against the Bears? You didn't even just lose. You got your ass whooped. Now, I don't think any of us, including the Cowboys or their fans, are expecting Dallas to make a deep playoff run or a Super Bowl appearance, but at least improve from the disaster of last season. Get back into at least sneaking into the playoffs. Like, you want to be in that position, and you're getting smoked by a winless team. I'm going to go with the Packers to win this one because it seems like the Cowboys Stadium is the Packers' second home. Packers have been beating on the Cowboys lately, and I imagine Micah Parsons is going to be a bit salty about getting traded all of a sudden earlier in the season, so he's going to come in with a little extra fire for y'all. Next, you got the battle of the AFC East losers, the New York Jets versus the Miami Dolphins. Why is this a primetime game? Whoever's ingenious plan to make this the Sunday night football game, I hope your pillow is warm on Sunday night. I don't want to see any more New York teams on primetime. I'm sick of it. No one wants to see the New York Jets or Giants in primetime. I speak for the whole NFL community. I'm telling you, nobody wants to see them. And we also don't want to see the fucking Dolphins. But the Jets, they almost snuck up on the Buccaneers and pulled a win away from them, but they didn't. Whereas the Dolphins kinda almost snuck up on the Bills. Not really. In fact, they lost by shooting themselves in the foot. Let me just be very clear that there will be no winners to this game. I told myself I wasn't going to be picking the Jets anymore, but the Dolphins are playing like such complete ass. I don't know. Dolphins, can you please just get a win already? It's the Jets. This might be your easiest opponent yet. Just win. Just win, please. I'm picking the Dolphins. And lastly, you got Monday Night Football. You got the Bagels taking on the Broncos. You have just gotten a glimpse of what the Cincinnati Bagels look like when they do not have Joe Burrow under center. Hot, stinky garbage. Meanwhile, the Broncos, they lost to the Chargers, but it was a close game. Really, their last 2 games were close. Really, all 3 of their games were close, no matter who the opponent is. I'm going to pick the Broncos to win because the Bagels have proved that without Joe Burrow, they just cannot have a functioning system. And it's upsetting, but hey, that's Cincinnati for you. So we're picking the Broncos. Also, I just want to apologize for my abysmal prediction record this week. If I go negative like that again, then the era of these prediction videos will be seeing an early retirement.